Hi, my name is Fabiola Haro. I'm 47 years old and I live in Wellington, New Zealand. I'm a movement therapist and I want to share with you my story. I apologize for the pre-recorded video, but I hope you can still enjoy my message. I've been long reflecting about the myth of relaxation and I want to weave that within my own story. I hope you like it. Life is difficult. Buddha said, as one of his great noble truths, that life is suffering. The problem is not that life's suffering. The problem is that we fail to recognize this and instead avoid confronting and growing from the challenges we must face. I want to talk to you about my observations over almost quarter of a century treating patients, many of whom are in pain from avoiding the confrontation with challenges they must have. And I want to tell you about my own challenges recently facing cancer. But my talk's not one of sorrow. Understanding and accepting that life is difficult is a key that opens doors to growth, enrichment, and connection. I grew up in Brazil in a mixed creed home. My paternal grandparents were Buddhists and my mother's family Christian. My job has been a vocation for as long as I can remember. It's actually quite possibly a cellular memory from my great-grandmother who cared for the sick at her home, dispensing herbal medicine. For as long as I remember, I have wanted to bring home the sick, the poor, and the suffering. But talk about abundance. In 1999, I met an extraordinary man who comes into my life, and I have been in New Zealand for almost 20 years now. Thankfully, I have managed to hold space for the healer in me. Over 2 decades as a movement therapist, I have a degree in physiotherapy and experiencing many techniques for health and well-being. I see clients daily in my private practice in Wellington. There is a summary of my qualifications on my bio, but I shall not take time speaking of my CV here, because what I have learned over the past 24 months is just that. We're more than the sum of our deeds. And no matter how well organized we are, how controlled we keep our surroundings, there's always the possibility that something will shake its foundations. So let me tell you about my life. I have a wonderful daughter who is filming me, 13 years old. Her name is Nina. She was conceived naturally among numerous failed IVF attempts. My husband and I faced difficulties, but we managed to grow closer. Our home is a nest woven with love, and I have a job that I treasure and hobbies that keep me on my toes. Life is so fulfilling that I fail to keep track of my own health. And when I blink, there's a tumor on my left breast, 7 centimeters large, and a constellation of metastasized lymph nodes. Cancer is my earthquake, stage 4. I lose ground. I hit bottom. Waking up after the mastectomy brings me straight into full-blown panic attacks. I'd never experienced something as profound as that. The first chemotherapy infusion is brutal. My veins are untouchable, and after many pricks, an ultrasound is required. I'm told I would need a central line for future treatments. It is intensely uncomfortable to ask for help. It's not familiar to me. And I spend long stretches of time in bed feeling ill. The roles reverse and I'm the one in need of healing. I'm lost for a while until it dawns on me. It's time to take action. It's not time to relax. So I resort to all natural therapies I know to control side effects. Acupressure and moxa are invaluable, and so is meditation. I study physiology and I develop a method to pump my veins for chemo. So I visualize opening up to the needles and my cells embracing the drugs. In the end, a central line is not needed after all. I survived 6 months of chemo and I celebrate my bald head with henna tattoos. I am not a passive cancer patient, but an active participant in my healing. Radiation is worse. It's cold and it's lonely. It's insidious, constricting my larynx and my trachea. When I can no longer breathe or swallow, panic-stricken, and the hospital has nothing left to offer me, I reach to my GP, who saves me with a course of cortisone. My skin is blistered and I require daily dressings for burns that spread around my torso. Body awareness leaves me acutely conscious of the fibrosis developing under my skin and the intense tightening. I learn to manage the neuralgia I'm left with. I work on my scar and my fibrosis. I mitigate ongoing side effects of hormone suppressions and periodic intravenous infusions. But most of all, I'm present. I'm listening and I'm speaking. I'm engaged. I'm holding my grounds and stating my feelings. I'm asking for help and admitting my limitations. I resume work because I love it and it makes me whole, except that this time it's different. I'm alert to my needs for the first time in my life, and I factored that in my diary. I finish working time for Nina, and I no longer see clients on evenings or weekends. I make time to read, to study and reflect. I make time to write. So I have been contemplating the myth of relaxation for a long time now. I will jump at the opportunity to elaborate on it here. My understanding is that each person since birth suffers the forces of gravity upon their bodies. As custodians of our physical bodies, it is our responsibility to hold it up in space. After all, it's us who keep our heads above our torso and our cores close to our interests. It's up to us to organize ourselves in the best way possible, to respect our anatomy and the ideal alignment of our body segments. Dumping our bodies as potato sacks is recipe for injury. Every day, people ask me to dissolve their knots on their backs, their shoulders, so they can relax. Unfortunately, and I hate to break this to you, as of yet, there are no magic powers to counteract the long hours one sits bent over their phones or slouching at the office chair. Of course I can help. Perhaps I can alleviate the symptoms for a while, but the only effective path to well-being is to take ownership, to develop awareness and take responsibility, honor the anatomy, understand the physiology, and optimize the immediate environment with ergonomic adaptations. I propose that relaxation is not a state induced by letting go. It is not the result of an external agent such as me, a masseuse, an osteopath, a healer. Relaxation does not originate in long sessions of stretching because relaxation takes strength too. There's no off switch from being present in our bodies, aligned, and to respect our emotions and our environment. Relaxation is a state of bliss that takes place when we are fully engaged within an organized physical structure. To be relaxed is to enjoy an active state of presence, tuning into our internal perceptions and our sensations. That brings serenity and enables forgetting about the physical body, inviting to an existence in a different plane. Enlightened, perhaps, relaxed, but we don't exist in a vacuum. Today, forests are burning, the pandemic is out of control, Earth cries for help as our native tribes suffer genocide. Refugees are kept in cages or die trying. There are wars, corruption, homophobia, racism, and poverty. Relaxation seems a contradiction to me. Life is challenging, and we live in a complex reality where there is urgency for action, justice, and change. There's no disassociating from that. The presence in our physical bodies may bring the realization that action is required to rectify the wrongs in our society, like climate change and social inequality. So I propose that relaxation is not a stagnant concept. Relaxation is moving in compass, not only with ourselves, with our bodies, but with our surroundings. I believe in the universal bond of sharing that connects all humanity. Ubuntu. I am because you are. Personally, I have realized that to be relaxed is to be actively involved in my posture, my health, my family, and my society. Thank you for listening to my story and my reflections about relaxation. My name is Fabiola Haro.